Hi, this is Brendan Davis from Bedrock Games and the Bedrock blog, and I'm here with Adam Balderstone for another episode of Bedrock and Balderstone, and this time we're talking about Kill Bill Volume 2. We already had our discussion of the first film, and we're moving into the discussion of the second film, and we're just going to, keep this fairly free-flowing and open, and we're not going to worry too much about structure since we already had a previous episode where we dealt with part one. So Adam, just jumping right into it, what's your immediate reaction to watching Kill Bill 2 again?
I would say my immediate reaction, I got more. I mean, it's been a long. I haven't to repeat. I haven't watched it since it first came out, and I found it an even more satisfying and enjoyable movie than I did back when I first saw it. I don't know. It's more things kind of struck me. I thought the characters worked better for me. Just the emotional beats of it worked better. Overall, I thought it was great. So, what about you?
Well, just to jump onto what you were saying, I think something about this movie does benefit from a rewatch because watching it the first time paves the way for noticing things. Like, okay, I know that in the next scene they're going to do this, but I'm curious how they get there. I found myself doing that a lot in this movie because where they get if you track it, like, okay, here's point A, here's point B, here's point C, here's point D. When you're at point C, you're sort of like, I know D is coming up, but I can't imagine how they're going to smoothly get to D. What editing trick do they use to get there so that I don't awkwardly watch them walk over to the table in the lawn? Do you know what I mean? Like things like that.
Yeah, well, having a moment where I remember, oh yeah, that's right. The whole flashback to her training is to explain why she can punch through a coffin, and that was, like I said, I remembered we went to that whole training sequence, but yeah, I didn't remember how we got there.
But like I said in the past episode, this is my favorite one in the series or in the movie. I don't know. Is it a series if it's volume 1 and 2? Is that the correct?
I don't know. It's debatable because there was the whole. I kind of, in glancing at things, saw there was the whole poster controversy with this, where it was called the fifth Tarantino movie by the studio in the original poster, and he made them change it because he's like, no, it's still the fourth movie. It's one movie.
Yeah.
So and I mean, at some point, I think he wanted to release it as one ridiculously long movie, but.
Here's what I heard about that. I heard that he wanted to. It was going to be one movie, and then they stepped in and said, "No, make this 2 movies." And then he jumped at the chance because it allowed him to explore the backgrounds.
Okay.
So the characters might have been thinner, I think, if they hadn't made it 2 movies. Which I don't know. The reason I like part 2 is because that's exactly what it does. It expands on all of the stuff we saw in part 1, so that you understand the depth that all the characters have, and. Yeah. It sort of takes its time, and it just unwinds very slowly, and it's a pace that I don't know. There aren't too many movies that are like volume 2 of the first film that are done in this way that they just have the time to do this. Do you know what I mean? I remember when I first saw it, it really struck me because I saw the first one on DVD when it came out, and I liked it, but I was kind of like Tarantino wasn't as established for me then as he is now. Do you know what I mean? Because at that time, I think, what was the movie he had done before? Jackie Brown?
Brown, yeah.
And prior to that, it was Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. And when Pulp Fiction came out, it was a phenomenon. Do you know what I mean? So it was almost like a fad. Like, you just saw Pulp Fiction everywhere. Like, even on The Simpsons, they had a Pulp Fiction episode. So I liked Pulp Fiction a lot. I remember enjoying it. I liked Reservoir Dogs. But then when Jackie Brown came out, I remember kind of wondering, like, okay, is this now Jackie Brown I can watch and enjoy, but when it came out, I think it didn't land as well as Pulp Fiction did for me. Do you know what I mean? And
I liked it, but I agree with you that for most people, it well, I mean, it was. I don't know that it was a bomb, but it was a disappointment certainly at the box office.
It wasn't a bomb. It wasn't a bomb, and it's a good movie. I understand why you like it, but it's like all of my expectations were built up on Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, and
it's totally different from those.
And it's like, well, where's the style? Do you know what I mean? And in a way, it's probably good because so many people were imitating him at that time. It's kind of interesting.
He wanted to step back. Yeah.
But then when this came out, I remember seeing the ad for the volume 1 and thinking, well, I don't know that I would need to rush to the theater to see it. Do you know what I mean? But then when I saw it, and then when I saw part 2 is what cemented it for me. That's when I was like, oh my God, this is a great movie. Do you know what I mean? because at the time, a stylized martial arts movie by an American director, that's a questionable proposition. Do you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
there's a lot of bad stuff on the market that I remember watching growing up, and so when I got to Volume 2 and saw it in the theater, that it just had a really big impact on me. I remember feeling like it. Part 1 was a great movie, but something about this, I liked the way it used Gordon Liu scenes. I liked the level of heart the movie had. There are a surprising number of emotional beats in the movie, like you were saying,
Yeah.
that really make the movie work emotionally. And I don't know, the way that it handles the background material is really interesting. And also, there are moments in this movie that are really horrifying and unnerving, and it's done really well. Do you know what I mean? Like the burial scene that you're talking about, or
Hmm.
the Black Mamba scene, and just stuff. But it also still has the humor. Do you know what I mean? It just has more stuff that I like. I don't know if I like both movies, but if I have to watch one of them, it would be Part 2. And
Yeah,
and it
it's where you get all the payoff for the most part.
yeah
So, but yeah, I mean, as far as when this came out too, I think to people that weren't around, and it's worth mentioning, there was a long gap between this and Jackie Brown. It's like
yeah
I did see Reservoir Dogs in the theater. Pulp Fiction came out 2 years after
yeah
that. Then it was only a couple of years till Jackie Brown came out, and then there was just this 6 year gap
yeah.
before before you had that. It was like he kind of, because I remember for a while he was making a World War II movie in between Jackie Brown and this. That was going to be his next movie. Then that kind of disappeared. I mean, I don't know if that was Inglorious Bastards in an early state or if it was something
I think it
different. But
was. I think because Inglorious Bastards I had heard about for a long time. So
yeah, but yeah, it was him. It was kind of with Jackie Brown not being a huge hit, I was almost kind of wondering for a while, well, is Tarantino just gonna, he did his movie and then he's just gonna fade away. But this was a really big comeback for him.
no, it was huge. And another thing about Part 2 that I like is it still has a lot of the martial arts in it, but it's not all about the martial arts the way the first one. Like the first one is great because from beginning to end, it's just like action almost the whole way through, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
it's sort of a breakneck action packed martial arts movie, and this one still has really good martial arts, but it's already established that we can do martial arts, so now we're going to have spaces in between, and it's sort of like in
Yes.
music when you have the spaces that breathe, it it just works a little bit better, I think. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then you notice those dramatic moments more. You notice the action more when it happens. It has more impact. Um,
Yeah, and it doesn't feel the need to be as flashy with the fights. I mean, the fight with Daryl Hannah, it's like in this cramped trailer, and it's it there. I mean, it doesn't go as crazy over the top
yeah.
as a lot of the other fights. It's more constrained. It's much shorter. Obviously, that the final fight, the big fight the movie's building up to, is over very quickly.
No, and that
It's
and that fight scene actually reminded me a lot of. There's like a Shaw Brothers movie with Gordon Liu where he's fighting in an alley, and I think we saw it on the Wushu Weekend. We've seen so many, it's hard to
I
remember.
know it's tough to
But it
say.
reminded me of that sequence where like they get more narrow and narrow and narrow, and they, you know, like because I think is it in the trailer scene where she tries to draw the sword and she can't because the space won't allow for it. Like she's, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that does happen in
Yeah.
that scene. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I think this is a tremendous movie, and I think the thing that I noticed this time, and I guess we can lead by talking about the final chapter because that's
Sure.
where I noticed this is how much heart it had and how it like it's funny because at the time when I first saw it I didn't even really think twice about how the movie ends, but it goes you really wouldn't expect the final revenge scene to become the sort of heartwarming tender family scene that it is. Do you know what I mean? Where it's just, her, Bill, and the daughter, and then she watches a movie. I think she watches Shogun Assassin with her, and
Yeah.
it's almost purely dialogue until you get to the final showdown at the on the patio there. But I don't know. Did you have any thoughts about that scene watching it again, or
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, I mean that struck me a lot more, I think, than it did the first time I watched it. Because I didn't really remember a whole lot of the details of that portion of the movie. And I don't know, maybe it's being older and having younger relatives and everything, but that kind of thing is more meaningful to me than it was way, 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 way back when this movie came out. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously part of it's skewed by the fact that I know how it ends. I mean, I think, what Bill was going to do was a lot more worrisome the first time I watched it. It's like, he's just this I'm kind of worried, like, what's going to happen,
yeah,
what's going to happen. And I was able to just sit back and watch the character beats more during those scenes because there wasn't any suspense attached to it. It's like, yeah, well, she's going to kill him. That's the way it ends.
Yeah, the first time there is this tension through that whole scene because you do not know what he is planning to do. And so, like, even when he's making the sandwiches, the first time you're watching it, you're like, oh, did he poison that sandwich? Like, what,
Well, he's also holding this huge, he's got a very big knife for making a sandwich.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, and Tarantino knows what you're thinking because he ends up shooting her in the leg with that dart. Do you know what I mean? And that's not for no reason. Like that is the bang in that scene where, you're sort of supposed to think, oh my God, he's done it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then of course it being a Tarantino move, it's a dart that's going to make her talk a lot.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, it's a truth serum.
Exactly.
So.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't say. I mean, yeah, being able to sit back and kind of watch the character beats. I mean, Bill is just a terrible character. It's not like I have more. I think, oh, well, he wasn't, but he was just more interesting to me this time because I could just sit back and watch. And the relationship with his brother is actually jumping forward in the movie, if I may, interested me a lot more this time too because it was so insignificant to me last time that I didn't even remember that they were brothers, from the last time I watched it. But to talk about Madsen's character. There's the bit where he has the conversation with Bill and he's saying, oh, maybe she deserves her revenge and all of that. And it's like the first time I watched it, I genuinely thought, oh, he feels bad about it. And it struck me as odd that when she shows up, he never has the least bit of sympathy for her and tries to kill her in an extremely horrible way. And it struck, and then it struck me like right at the point when she finds the sword that he really did have the sword, but he told Bill that he pawned it. Yeah. I thought all he's doing in that scene is being a dick to his brother and try to make his brother feel bad about it. It's
okay, that's interesting.
He doesn't feel any guilt about what they did to her, but he knows that his brother does, and he's just picking at that wound.
Okay, that's an interesting take. Because I was wondering about that. Because that always annoyed me too. Because he says, because he's showing so much remorse in that scene. And I think, don't they even play that voiceover in part 1 at the end?
They do. Which is why it sticks with you. Yeah.
But that means it's important too, right? Like that means like it's not insignificant. And so he says that, and it's like, okay, like maybe she deserves her revenge, and we deserve to die. But here's the thing. I had another thought about that scene because I think what you're saying is very compelling. I think there's good.
It's a theory.
Yeah, it's a very good theory. My other theory was this: maybe he knew she was going to dig her way out of that.
Maybe.
Do you know what I mean? No, because he knows her level of training, right? He knows that she would train under Pai Mei. He was going to put the flashlight in there with her, right? So like, and when he's. I don't know, something about that gesture. That doesn't seem like a smart thing to do if you want her to die, right?
You're right. You're right.
And so so here's my other theory. Maybe he is so guilt-ridden, and that he kind of knows how things are going to play out with Ellie Driver, right? Like maybe, and so maybe he's allowing all that to unfold. And he's putting her in the hole, knowing you know what I mean? Like in movie logic, not in real world logic. Like maybe.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand. No, that is also a good theory, and I mean, and it's possible that that both theories are true at the same time,
Yeah.
which is that he was letting her get away with it, and he was also saying the things just to be a jerk to his brother. Because once again, the pawning his sword thing, it's like I don't, there isn't. I don't see any other motivation for that because he never has any inclination to use the sword or seems likely to. It just seems to be like he just knows it's going to really annoy his brother that he just sold this priceless sword for $200.
No, and the look on
It's
Bill's face when he says it is,
he's just needling
yeah.
him. That's all. That's the only reading on that. That was really was thinking about the sword that made me think about the other part.
Well,
But
it's
I mean, in any case, it's the fact that there's multiple ways to look at it. I love it in a movie when you can look at something and they don't explain it. They just leave you with this mystery.
yeah.
Why did this character do this thing? And there's multiple compelling reasons, and you can
It's
discuss it. I mean, that's the sign of a good movie
good
to
movie.
me.
No, it's extremely enigmatic, and it's hard not to notice. Do you know what I mean? It's like why is he now doing this after he just expressed all this guilt? And
Yeah.
it really makes you wonder. And there's a lot of stuff like that in this movie, obviously, but that one really sticks out. And this is one of the scenes I usually remember the Buddy stuff and the Pai Mei stuff when I think of this movie. Those are the two things that kind of stand out. My favorite character in the movie actually is the oh God, what's his name? The the Larry Bishop character, the guy that runs the strip club. Do
Yes.
the
Yeah, I did not remember that character in the least from my previous watch,
uh,
but I absolutely loved that performance
Now,
this time.
why do I like that so much? Because I know I like it, but I have no idea why. I don't know what it's hitting in me that make like every time I see this movie, that's the scene I can't wait to see. You know what I mean? And nothing really big happens. He just gets fired. Not even fired. He gets like temporarily let go
Yeah, he's
until
just
the
getting
boss.
punished
Yeah.
by his boss. I'm taking you off the schedule for a while.
Yeah. It's basically he shows up late to work. The boss takes him off the schedule for the next few weeks. And then he has to clean up the bathroom. That's all that really happens in the scene. But something about that performance, or maybe even just the hair and the makeup, like I don't know. It really works. Like I know exactly the kind of guy that this person is supposed to
Yeah,
be.
it's just so real. It's
Yeah.
just this, I mean, it's the good thing about Tarantino's movies, even when they're really cinematic, there's just these little grounded touches that kind of weld everything to some level of reality. I mean, and plus, just Madsen's character, being this like international assassin who's now just being needled like he's some minimum wage teenager by
Well, and
his
the guy he
boss.
says, "You kids," right? That's like one of the striking lines in the scene.
Yes.
You kids don't, understand unless I mess with your money or whatever it was he said. And Buddy just kind of takes it. He doesn't really do anything. He's just sort of meekly accepting it.
No, well, it kind of feeds in too to what Bill's talking about later about how, he's like, you're the Superman who pretends to be Clark Kent, and you're always going to be you could pretend to be Clark Kent as long as you want, but you'll never really be that. You'll
Yeah.
always wake up being it's like it's kind of a similar thing to that he's leading this really nothing life, and it kind of puts that into it kind of brings that theme of the movie up too.
No, yeah, because that is the choice that the characters have in this universe is they can be killers and live this glamorous lifestyle, or they can retire to a mundane, boring existence, right? Like
Yeah.
those are the two options that seem available to them. And
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. That's another spice to that scene is that Buddy could just like murder everybody in the club
yeah,
in response.
yeah, he could do it easily. That's the thing.
It's
Like, because that guy is a tough guy. The boss, the Larry Bishop character, his name is Larry Gomez in the movie.
yeah,
He would intimidate you or me in real life, but he wouldn't intimidate Buddy if Buddy was unrestrained. But something is
yeah.
restraining him, and so
Exactly. That is part of the power of the scene. Buddy
yeah,
is choosing to like just accept this crap life, which actually does go back to the fact that he clearly does have some level of remorse, but also once again, the capper to his line about she deserves her revenge is that also she wasn't any better than any of them in a lot of ways too. So, you
well,
know,
Well, the interesting thing about that line too is that's delivered in rhyme when he's talking. It's like poetry Do you know what I mean? Like it's buddy poetry. It's not like Shakespeare, but it rhymes. Do you know what I mean? He says, "So we'll just see," and it rhymes with whatever he said before. Do you know what I mean?
I hadn't
I think
noticed that.
he says
But,
something
yeah.
like, "Maybe so does she." So we'll just see.
Yeah, you're right. We'll just
It's
see.
very rhymey, and it's sort of like, okay, this is significant here, and so maybe that's the part that answers our question too. Is that he's saying she also deserves to die, and then when this truth serum is delivered later in the movie, and she's talking with Bill, he's saying like, you're a killer, like you're saying, like, you're not Clark Kent, you're Superman, you're a killer. And so tell me honestly, did you enjoy killing all those people? And she's like, yes, I did. So like,
Yeah.
so she isn't a particularly nice person either. And I think the good thing about that is if they ever do a Kill Bill 3, and everybody knows what the plot of that is going to be, it's going to be Copperhead's daughter coming to get revenge. We could see the whole movie through the point of view of Copperhead's daughter. I forget the daughter's name, but we can see her point of view, and we can sympathize with it, and we can see the bride as a villain. Do you know what I mean? Like, the bride could serve as a Bill type character in a sequel if they ever do one, and it would work, because we do know, yeah, she is kind of a terrible person, except for the fact that she loves her daughter and she got revenge for her. But then, that doesn't exactly exonerate her from all the stuff that she did. So
No, well, it's an interesting thing of the movie. The movie jumps around time all over the place, but you never see the assassination squad all together in action. All the relationships between them are largely implied, and it's like it deliberately never shows you any of that.
The only time you see them together is the closest you get is at the wedding chapel massacre.
Exactly,
and
that's,
even
again,
then,
that's not all together because she's not. Because crucially, she's not part of it.
Yeah. Well, and also they don't actually. So I want to talk about that scene, because that scene's the one that's shot in black and white, and it's also, I think it's the scene where we first see Bill, if I'm not mistaken. I know we see him at the end of part one, but we don't see his face, I believe, unless I'm...
No, we don't.
So here we actually see Bill. It's shot differently than the rest of the film, and it's shot in an amazing way. Like, that scene has really striking visuals, just when it's panning away from the door, and they're walking towards it, and just the way the whole scene is set up and shot, and the way that there's so many lines in it that have double meanings. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm particular about who my gal marry. Things like that. There's just all these little, where she seems to believe that, oh, he's accepting all this, and he's saying all these things knowing that he's going to kill her and everybody there. Something about, and as an audience member that that's what happens, because you already know the story from the first film. So I don't know. Did you have any thoughts on that scene?
Any thoughts? Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't know. I don't have anything particularly original to say off the top of my head. I mean, it's. I'll say one thing. I felt really stupid when I got to closing credits, because I just didn't even notice that Samuel L. Jackson was in that scene. I didn't.
Well, it's a small role. He plays the piano player.
I know. But it's just for someone as famous as him to not. Because I noticed the piano player too. It's not like I was oblivious, but it just didn't hit me. And I'm like, oh, wow.
And he's filmed from the back most of the time too. I don't think
I suppose he must have been, because I didn't recognize him. But I was just like, oh, okay. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously that is, the thing about that scene is it's a real kind of companion piece to the final scene, because it's kind of the beginning of the conversation they're going to finish at the end of the movie. I mean, it's a lot of talking between them. And I mean, and it is interesting watching it a second time, because I did have some sense of how the movie was going to end already watching it. So kind of seeing that interaction between them was very interesting. But yeah, it's kind of funny, because I was saying that some of the tension's gone from the ending of the movie, not in a bad way, but it's still dramatic. And I was kind of seeing it a different way, because I knew how it was going to end with Bill dying. Whereas with the opening scene, with the chapel scene, you kind of got the opposite thing that this is all going to be really horrible.
Yeah.
And it's like, even though it's this calm conversation between the two, it's like, oh God, this and the conversation between him and the guy that, she's going to marry and everything. It's just incredibly tense. It's just not because it's suspenseful. You know what's going to happen, but it's going to be bad.
Yeah, no,
So,
they do a really good job of allowing it to like sink into that calm, and everything Bill does is just so much more menacing the more you watch the movie. Do you know what I mean? Like every polite gesture,
yeah,
it just adds. I think that scene works wonderfully, and I don't know. I really like the. I mean, we could talk about this later, I suppose, but it's probably appropriate to bring up now. Just the casting of David Carradine as Bill here, and
yeah.
I don't know, he seems very perfect for this role to me. I'm not an enormous David Carradine fan, but I think the things that David Carradine brings work in Kill Bill. He's a little bit unlikable. Do you know what I mean? There's something a little bit unlikable about David Carradine.
Yeah.
But he's also charming, and those two things together really work here. And apparently, I guess Warren Beatty was the original choice, or one of the original choices for Bill.
Really?
And
Yeah,
Bill,
that's another charming but somewhat unlikable person.
well, the thing that's interesting is he was going to be more of a Bond villain type, more of a James Bond type person. I think when they,
Oh, okay.
so I believe what Tarantino tends to do is he tends to rewrite the script with the actor in mind, and
Yeah.
I feel like you can see that, through this movie. Like this is. It's not just that David Carradine was brilliantly cast; the script was brilliantly tailored to David Carradine's, qualities. Do you know what I mean? And so,
Yeah. Oh, it was. I mean, yeah, that's, talking about how I kind of was more relaxed than watching the character beats of the end of the movie. I mean, something that struck me is that, because I wasn't worried about him murdering her at any point or doing something horrible, I was just able to see it was just more believable that they had this relationship. I mean, I felt more the fact, oh, this is her ex, and that she wants to kill him and she wants to get a revenge, but this is really complicated. And that came through to me more on this watching than last time I watched it. I guess also just I've got more life experience too. I mean, the older I get, the more I appreciate the complexities of these things. But
no, I've noticed that too with this, is that it's a movie that kind of ages with you a little bit. The more you know what I mean, as you get older and watch it, you notice other things about the movie. Some movies don't do that.
Yeah.
One thing I also was wondering about that I've never really, I don't know, there's probably an obvious answer that I'm overlooking. There are a lot of scenes in this that are visibly overacted intentionally. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not like the actors are overacting and they don't know
The
what they're doing.
opening monologue from her is definitely a case of that, where she's
Yeah.
driving the car and she's talking, and I kind of that was a little much for me. I think I knew it was an intentional choice, but I was like, yeah, I don't know.
And in the trailer, when her and Ellie Driver are having their duel in the trailer, it's similar, some of the dialogue,
Yeah.
but that dialogue is a little bit more comedic too. So it's sort of the overacting works in favor of the comedy. But I'm just curious, what do you think the reason is for choosing overacting in certain moments in the film? Do you know what I mean? Even like the pimp is like it's brilliantly overacted. It's mesmerizing, but it's overacted for sure, right? Like what's the purpose of all the overacting in the movie?
Well, I mean, the movie is I mean, it's playing on a lot of cinematic tropes. I mean, like I said, I wasn't entirely comfortable with the little opening monologue scene. I thought that it felt a little too heightened for the opening of the movie. It's like I felt like the opening of the movie should you bring it in rather than having this distancing cinematic effect.
Yeah.
Like that monologue might have worked better if it was put somewhere else in the movie, but I felt like as an opening, I was like, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's playing with kind of a selection of recipes here, and I mean most of the time I didn't think about it. It just comes naturally out of the moment and what's happening in the movie at that time. I felt like the pimp scene. Yeah, I mean the pimp is a very heightened kind of role, but
he
it
embodies the
just
smoke that he's inhaling. Do you know what I mean? He's got that. There's
yeah.
something, I don't know how to explain it, but there's something really captivating about the way that character is played. But it's not how
Yeah.
a normal human would behave. You know?
No, no, definitely not. But it's no, but I don't know. It's just I just think that worked naturally there. I mean, I mean that's the thing. I mean these characters are not supposed to be normal people. They are, these superhuman assassins. So I think the movie works having these. And it's the mix too, because once again, going back to the strip club guy, we've got this completely normal, believable, realistic strip club owner in amongst all these characters. So
No, that's true.
yeah,
And I think the other thing too is this is obvious. This is one of the movies that are supposed to sort of occur within his movie universe. So everything is just much more heightened, I suppose. But I
yeah,
can just pick out like you said, the opening sequence, which has kind of like a noirish, like I don't know, like a early '60s kind of a feel to it, right? Or even like a late '50s feel, some of that. And then the pimp scene, the dialogue between Daryl Hannah and Uma Thurman in the trailer, those kind of moments, and even the Pai Mei scene is really sort of heightened. Do you know what I mean?
well, that's really
Yeah,
heightened. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean that's you're full on going into the wuxia universe with that pretty
Now,
much. But
now, now I wanted to ask you because my favorite sequence in the movie is probably the one where he gives the story of Pai Mei while playing the flute, and then she has her training with him. That section of the film is the
uh
one when I first saw it I loved the most. And so I'm just curious, after having watched all these martial arts movies, and especially the Gordon Liu movies, did that
yeah.
illuminate this scene for you, or did it?
Yeah, no, I liked it more because I have the whole universe in my head that it's evoking. It's like, yeah, even when Bill's just telling the story about Pai Mei, it's like, yeah, I get Pai Mei and and who he is, and I'm already seeing it all in my head because I get the martial
Yeah.
world. It's
Well, and we've
so
seen
yeah,
movies with Pai Mei in them, right? We've seen, the White Lotus
the
film, and
White Lotus,
I
yeah,
think it was Executioners from Shaolin. I might be
yes.
confusing them, but there was we've seen, and then there's a third one with Lo Wei in it. It's the Lo Lie, I think it's like Shaolin Abbott, or Abbott is in the title. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but one of the things that struck me about this scene though this time, because we watched so many Gordon Liu movies in the past 2 years, we really saw his full repertoire, and we saw a lot more of his comedic films,
Yeah.
towards the end, and I got a real appreciation for just how skilled he is at comedy, and that's a really important feature of this character. Do you know what I mean? That's
Hmm.
one of the things that really makes Pai Mei work, is just how good Gordon Liu is as the character of Pai Mei. And I forgot how much comedy there was in that scene. It's, I mean, there's some real gut busting jokes in the training sequence. So just knowing Gordon Liu's comedic background there kind of helped add to it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. He's once. I mean, obviously, going back to the Tarantino and casting, that's just another perfect casting role. But yeah, jumping back quickly to to the pimp character too. I mean, I don't know if you were aware of this, but it's the same guy that's playing the sheriff at the chapel too.
No,
He's
and what's striking about that is how, I mean, obviously in the pimp scene, he's I don't know where it is exactly, but it's somewhere south of the border. I think it's supposed to be in Mexico or something. So, uh, did they ever actually tell us where it is? Did we get a
I
specific
didn't pick
location?
up on it. I didn't pick up on a location, but I'm not a they may have said a name and it meant nothing to me.
But
It's not a
those characters could not be more different. Do you know what I mean? Those
Oh
are
yeah, that's why I bring it
yeah.
up because I only know it because I looked at the cast. I
Hmm.
would never it never would have occurred to me without looking at it.
No,
It's
again, that's and that the sheriff is almost kind of a I don't know. He's kind of a vanilla character in comparison to the pimp. The pimp is the one that really stands out to me. Um, as
Yeah, but it's the sheriff. The sheriff is really well done, though. I mean, he is a vanilla character, but it's a really good flavor of vanilla.
no, it works. I mean, he's the character they need for that scene. It's just that there's something about what's the pimp's character's name? Oh God, it's Esteban Viallo, right? Or something to that effect. And so yeah, that and Michael Parks is the name of the actor, and I don't know, it's just an interesting scene.
Yeah, well, a piece of trivia about that scene I accidentally picked up because I was watching the movie on Amazon, and if you know on Amazon, whenever you pause the movie, you get all these little factoids that pop up, pieces of trivia. And apparently, it was originally going to be Ricardo Montalban in that scene.
Yes, yeah.
And Michael Parks was brought, like, they were going to do like voiceover for it or something. Like, I guess maybe Ricardo Montalban was kind of going to do it but couldn't do the voice or something. And Michael Parks was going to do kind of voiceover, but then when Tarantino saw Michael Parks doing, he's like, "No, you just got the part. You've got the part."
Yeah, it worked really well. I mean, I know people might quibble over it in terms of, he's not, it's not a real accent. Do you know what I mean? But like, I think the fact that he's playing an accent he doesn't have actually makes that scene work better, because I don't think.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's not a cliche accent he's doing. I mean, there's times people do a foreign accent in a really cliche fashion, but there's time I feel like he's kind of digging into something there.
Well, he's digging into it, but he's heightening it to a degree that I think you wouldn't get if it. Do you know what I mean? It's so heightened.
Well, it's because it's the thing of when you're wearing a mask, you can kind of be bigger.
Yeah.
Because he's put on this. Maybe the part where he's playing the sheriff is closer to his normal self, so it's not as large. Whereas when he's playing this entirely different person, and he's it just brings out something there.
Well, and I think it's important too, because that scene. I know Quentin Tarantino has actually said if the movie was shorter, he would have cut that scene out because it's not necessary. But he just likes that scene, and I think one of the things I like about it is how. This is a horrific place. Apparently those are real prostitutes in there too. Like, except for the actress with the cut lip, that's like a real brothel, I think, that they filmed at. And he's telling her, oh, Bill shot you in the head. I would have been much nicer. I just would have cut your lip. And then he has that lady come over and she's got the lip cut, and all these horrible things. And the character is so airy and charming still. Do you know what I mean? He's still, and her role in that scene is kind of to resist the charm and to resist the intimidation and to just sort of stay on him about where Bill is. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like, so I don't know. I just think it's a really
it is a good scene too, because from the standpoint of he just says, I'm just going to tell you because you'd want me to. If I don't tell you, he's never going to see you again.
Yeah, that's a good line. That's a very good line.
That really sets the tone for the ending of the movie. So to say if you had to shorten the movie, that would be a scene to cut, but it would diminish the movie. Aside from the entertainment value, just from a larger thematic sense, that would diminish the movie to cut it.
Well, it's also the scene that really establishes where Bill is. Like, you don't really have a sense of location without that scene.
Well, sure, but I mean, I don't think that's the important point about it. 'Cause, I mean, if she just showed up, it's not like we have any investigative scenes of her tracking down the location of the other members. We don't know how she ends up at any of their places. She just does. So
that's true. That's true. She could have just shown up and we wouldn't have thought twice about it. It wouldn't have mattered to us where she is. So I think you're right. But I don't know. I also think it's a good contrast because this guy is a bad guy, but he seems so much better than like Bill when you think of what I mean? It's sort of a way of showing you just how bad Bill is, because this guy's bad, but he still wouldn't have done to her what Bill ended up doing. Do you know what I mean? Bill shot her in the head. Do you know what I mean? And kill everybody at the, this guy, he would have done something really nasty, but it would have been survivable. Do you know what I mean? There's a difference in the level of villainy going on. And so by the time you get to Bill, it's like you understand just how dangerous Bill is supposed to be.
Well, Bill, I mean, probably the most despicable thing about it is he sees himself as a victim to an extent. It's like, you made me shoot you in the head. That was, I mean, it was terrible of you. It's like, by making me think you're dead and running off with another guy, you made me do that thing that I've felt bad about for all these years. I mean, it's just
well, and when we get Bill's perspective, it is kind of interesting because his big gripe is that he thought she was dead he had no idea. He thought she was dead, and then he finds out that she's got a baby with this guy, and also there's that interesting line where I guess the big thing is she assumed he would never do anything like that, and he's like, no, I would definitely do that, and you're forgetting, like, I'm a killer, and if you break the heart of a killer, there are consequences for that. Like, what lifestyle do you think you were living? And so. Yeah. On the one hand, it's bad that he feels like he's the victim when he isn't. But on the other hand, that she was an assassin who worked for this guy, and it's not like her hands are clean either in this whole thing. So
no. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's a trap people fall into all the time. It's like, I'm with this horrible person, but I'm their significant other, so I'm immune to their horribleness. And it's like, no, that's never true. If you're with a horrible person, you may have a truce with them, but they're still a horrible person, and you just need to take one step for their horribleness to come out again.
Well, but not just that, she's also a horrible person. She is,
well, exactly.
And that's the funny thing about the movie. She's a lot of times when you're seeing this character, you see her as a good guy. Do you know what I mean? She's presented to us as the good guy, but there are these moments where you fully understand that she's not a good guy. Do you know what I mean? That nothing she's done ever has been good, really. Do you know what I mean? The best thing she does,
she's getting vengeance.
Yeah.
She's killing bad people, but there's never anything selfless that she's doing through the movie.
The closest thing she does to anything good is when she lets that kid go in the first movie in the final scene.
She doesn't murder a child. It's her good act.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I forget where we were with all this, but I don't know. I think that final scene has some really interesting dialogue when you start pairing it up with other things in the film. Do you know what I mean? Like, it really helps to sort of unpack other parts of the movie.
Yeah, it does. It's
So I don't know, were there any big we didn't talk about the burial scene. We talked about it in passing, but we didn't really address it.
We got sidetracked. Yeah.
I know that scene, to me, like, I think that's one of the best buried alive scenes that, and obviously he's calling back to a lot of other movies in this, so it's the DNA is traceable to elsewhere, but like, I just think it's really effective the way he does it, the way that it builds up to it, as it sort of dawns on you what's happening, and when she's given that choice between the mace in the eye or the flashlight, and the way that it's tied to the pie mace scene.
It's horrible. Yeah, I don't know. There's one buried alive scene I think of in a movie, but it's kind of a spoiler to mention.
I know what movie you're thinking of because when you frame it. Yeah, no, yeah.
So I will not mention it because it's a great scene. I would like people to be as disturbed and horrified by it as I was. Yeah. So, but yeah, it is a perfectly done buried alive scene without a doubt. I was surprised at how affecting it was watching it a second time. It still hits you.
It's also the first time in the movie you really realize how vulnerable she is, because before that she's getting scrapes and she's getting cut, but she's taking everybody out. Do you know what I mean? Like in every scene she's not being taken hostage. She's she is the thing that's interesting about the Bride is that she's a vulnerable character. You do have these moments where she has emotions that you don't normally see on assassin revenge characters. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't see Jimmy Wang Yu never did that kind of a thing. but she's able to be vulnerable, which enhances the character. But you don't realize that she's not invincible until that scene where she. And again, Buddy is the whole scene leading up to the moment where she goes into attack Buddy is downplaying all of Buddy's abilities. He's like an alcoholic. He's washed up. He gets shit on by his boss. He doesn't say a thing. He hasn't been practicing the swordplay in ages, which we find out might be a lie, but up until that point, we don't have any reason to think otherwise. And so we're like, well, she just killed all these people. Of course she's going to be able to take out Buddy, of all people. And then she walks through the door and she gets shot in the chest. And
well, there's a level of overconfidence there, because I mean, it's like that was just a stupid approach. Her just kind of barging into his trailer. It's just like it's the one point in the movie where I'm like, wow, for a professional assassin, that was really, really amateur play. It's like she kind of had that coming, because it's like, God, you just walked right into a trap. It's like, there's so many ways she could have approached killing him, and that was not a fantastic way.
Do you think that's logical within the movie, or do you think that doesn't hold up under scrutiny?
I don't know. I mean, it's within the timeline of the movie. I mean, she may just be overconfident. She may, she's taken out, she's taken out a couple of people now, and she may just barge in, and she I mean, he does not. I mean, if she was observing him, let's assume that she was doing some kind of surveillance ahead of time. He's not. Out of the people she's taken on, he's just kind of this washed up guy working in a strip club, and not. I mean, he seems the easiest to take down.
Yeah, and he seems like he almost wants to die too. So it's like,
Copperhead is a suburban mom, but I bet she's still the kind of suburban mom that's going down to the gym every doing exercise classes and stuff.
Because they also downplay his physical appearance too. Like, he looks physically out of shape in most of those shots. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he just doesn't look well, and so the first time I saw it, I figured she was going to go in and kill him. It was going to be, and then that's like her biggest downtime, like the biggest moment in the movie where she's just down. Do you know what I mean? Where she, where you're like, oh my God, she might die. And so I don't know. I like that it kind of is like a left hook like that you don't see coming. And then I like how the burial is what gets us to Pai Mei, and then the Pai Mei stuff gets us out of the burial. And then all the stuff that happens with Ellie Driver is so tied to all the Pai Mei stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like she's having that duel with her, and number one, the stuff with the eye. Like, that's where, like, that without that Pai Mei scene, you don't really understand the significance of, like, how her eye's getting plucked out, and how there's this contrast being built up between her and the Ellie Driver character, where Ellie Driver doesn't have what it takes to really get to the heights of training that Pai Mei was trying to offer her, and Beatrix Kiddo does. And,
yes.
And you really see that at the end of the movie when you find out that she learned the 5-point exploding heart technique. Like that. But and I also like how it's the most cliche thing in the world, and they know it. But the way that they handle the sort of "I killed your master" scene, where it. Oh, go. You're going to say something. So
yeah, I was going to say it's well done, because Tarantino's good at like laying seeds in other parts of his movies to pay off elsewhere. I mean, the whole thing, because you have the revelation in that scene that Pai Mei plucked out her eye, but earlier in the movie when Bill is taking Beatrix to go to Pai Mei, he gives that big long warning about look, don't give him any sass at all. And it's like, so when you learn that he plucked that eye, it's like, oh, that really sends up a light, because you're like, wow, yeah, Pai Mei would do that. And then that leads into her killing him. And I mean, it's just so many things feed off each other from one scene to another.
What's really interesting is how it even informs the scene in the I always forget the name of it, but the final battle in part 1, where she's saying, like, leave your body parts, they all belong to me, but you can go with your lives. Because Pai Mei is like, this arm is mine now. And now that it's mine, I want it to be strong. Do you know? Like, you can see where she got that idea from. which is cool
Yeah.
because it comes in the second movie, so it's not even like it pays dividends later on chronologically. If well, I guess chronologically it does, but not if you're watching the film in the sequence that it's presented.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just find that very 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 nice and interesting, and I like how they take a scene which would have already been really cool, her fighting Ellie Driver, because these two characters have kind of been built up as the two. They physically resemble each other, right? They're both two blondes, and they're both Bill's girlfriend essentially, right? And you get the sense that there's obviously a lot of animosity going on there, and it would work as a scene. But then when you add in the oh yeah, and I killed Pai Mei, by the way, you know
Well, it's funny because I mean, ultimately, it's her undoing, is because the bride, she stayed diligent. She took the training. She learned every single secret that he had to teach her, including how to pluck out an eye.
Yeah.
whereas Ellie's like ha, I killed him, ha ha. And it's like, no, you got less training is what you did. You didn't complete the program. You just murdered the master and went on your way. So it's her brag is really, yeah, that's why you lost.
I also like the fact that, like, my memory is always that Ellie Driver dies, but you never actually see her die in that scene. You see the Black Mamba again, and it kind of suggests that she might get bit because she's blind and she's flailing around this trailer. But
I don't know. I wonder if she just keeps her alive. I mean, since she's blind.
Well, here's the thing. I think anytime they don't kill a character in a movie on screen, or at least strongly imply the character dies, you can assume the character is still alive for sequel purposes. And I feel like that would be really good, because if they do a sequel to this movie, she can be the blind swordsman character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's all this stuff that's sort of left over from the first movie that could be used for the mythical sequel that we probably won't ever get, but that everybody likes to talk about.
But and her, either one, her being left alive as a punishment, blind is a punishment, but also her being bitten by her own snake as she flails around the trailer is a good punishment. So once again, it's a thing that the movie doesn't say, but whichever theory you go with, it works.
Also, one thing I noticed about the scene that I thought was interesting, just because it was two women, they kept doing groin shots at each other. Do you know what I mean? That seems like it's like moves that you would normally see in a movie on a guy. Do you know what I mean? I thought that was just interesting that they opted for like way more than is the normal amount that you would see in a fight scene. Do you know what I mean? There was like at least 3 or 4 shots.
I didn't
like
pick up on that myself, but that's interesting. Yeah.
The choreography was really good. I thought the fight choreography, the fight choreography in the first one is really great too, but it goes on so long, it's maybe a little bit overwhelming, so you don't catch everything because there's so much coming at you. But in this one, because there's less, you can really see the distinctions between the different fights and the different moves. And I think the stuff in the trailer works really well, and the stuff with the Pai Mei sequence works exceptionally well as well. The training sequence where you have stuff like he's leaping up on the sword, and just all the Gordon Liu stuff is really entertaining. But yeah, so I don't know, we're coming up on the 55-minute mark, so we should probably
wrap it up. Yeah.
I don't know, any additional thoughts?
No, I think I've got it together so far. I think I've said everything I need to say.
Okay. I guess the only thing I would add is I do think that the selection of music works really well throughout the movie. I mean, music's always important in his movies, but in this one, I think it's really got a little bit more meaning, the way that it's attached to different moments, especially if you can trace what the song in question is. And what movie it was used in before.
Well, once again, watching on Amazon Prime is good for that, because it's, once again, anytime you pause the movie and mouse over it, it tells you what music is playing. So it's I was periodically doing that, going, what soundtrack is this that he's got? Okay.
Yeah, no, it's Amazon. One of the things I like about Amazon Prime is the trivia thing that they have. Sometimes it sucks. Sometimes it's like there's 2 pieces of trivia that you're not even sure if they're true.
It's a
And
lot of it is taken from IMDb, so I always take it with a grain of salt. And the thing I
okay,
really hate about it being from IMDb is all the goofs, which are continuity errors. And half the time you're
mm,
like, that's not really a continuity. It's like, oh well, during the scene during breakfast there were different plates on the
mm.
table. Continuity error. It's like, no, it's a different meal. Okay,
Mm,
come on, IMDb.
mm.
But yeah, exactly. The muse I like. The music selection is always there and the cast is there, and
Yeah.
that is really helpful. The trivia, hit or miss,
Yeah,
because a
the
lot of it is
trivia
just
can be good sometimes. But again, like I said, there are times when you read it, you're like, I don't think that's actually true, um,
yeah.
or it's or
That's why I qualified, the piece of trivia about Ricardo Montalban as being from the trivia that popped up, because I'm
okay.
like, I
I've
don't know if that's true. I haven't researched that. I just got that from the screen on Amazon.
I've heard that elsewhere as well, but it's always possible they're getting it from IMDb too. So, if everybody's using the same source and the same source is bad, then yeah,
IMDb is not a
yeah,
reliable
yeah, yeah.
source.
So, though, what would you say is more like? Would you say? And I know neither of these are considered reliable sources, but would you say Wikipedia or IMDb is more fault free?
Wikipedia is better because you have to cite your sources. There's going to be
Okay.
that little note number. You go to that, takes you to the article. You can go to where they got their information. With
But
IMDb, it's like, oh, just this person says this.
yeah, but I have a complaint about that because I've noticed a lot lately when I follow that link, it doesn't lead anywhere anymore.
Well, yeah, but you were able to follow that link and see it didn't go anywhere.
That's
So
true. That's true. But then that to me says, okay, that's a questionable
it does.
assertion
But
now.
but once again, with IMDb, it's like a lot of those things are just there and there's no
There's
source at
no.
all.
I get you.
Don't even have any. They're all they're all like the footnote that's missing,
Okay.
basically. So,
So yeah.
but
So
yeah, once again, they're both flawed. It's just I feel like I have a chance of getting to the actual truth with Wikipedia.
okay.
And once again, a Wikipedia page on a movie, the goof section, they rely so much on goofs for IMDb, things that they did wrong, that it's just like I don't want to have every continuity error in a movie, which may not even be a continuity error, picked out to me. That's just not interesting to me.
Okay. No, that makes that. I hear you. So, anyways, we'll end it now, and I know this Friday we're going to be doing Enter the Dragon on Wuxia Weekend, and I believe I'm going to be doing Heroes of the East on Wuxia Workshop, and Metal Workshop we're going to be doing Assholes in Metal, something along those lines. I don't remember exactly but it should be fun. It should be a very fun discussion. So we'll be talking about assholes and what they contribute to the genre, what they take away from the genre, that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
so until then, we will talk to you later.
This is just my opinion. Got me away from this system. over your